Hey everybody, in today's video we're going to be taking a Hot Wheel and we're going to be modifying it. And by modifying, I mean we're going to be removing the car from its packaging, taking it completely apart, stripping the paint all the way down to the metal, repainting it, doing little details on the interior. We'll be painting little details underneath. We're going to be putting some real rider wheels on it. That is very hard to say. Like they do with the Super Treasure Hunts. Going to put it all back together and putting it back in the packaging. The car we will be using for this is going to be the 65 Mustang 2+2 Fastback. Now why did I pick this car? That's simple. It's my wife's favorite car and she's always wanted one, so we're going to fix this one up, put it back in its packaging, and we're going to give it to her as a surprise. I think she'll like it. Now there are plenty of steps to do in order to modify the Hot Wheel. Like I said, first we're going to remove it from its packaging, as in we're going to remove the card and the blister and get the card out without damaging the card at all. Then we're going to take the car itself apart, strip the paint, get the interior out, do the details we need on it, paint the bottom up like I said earlier, put the new wheels and tires on it, and be putting it back together and putting it back in the packaging so it looks like it comes from the Hot Wheels factory, just like that. There's many steps to this, so let's go get started. Alright, the first thing we want to do is to remove the car from the packaging. In order to do that, you want to get your little acetone and you want to spread it around where the glue is holding the plastic blister to the card. Now you're going to want to saturate this a lot so it goes through the card and hits that glue. What it'll do is it'll break that glue down and you'll be able to remove the blister from the packaging itself. Now, once you think you have that card good and saturated, go ahead and flip it over and see if the glue is starting to break down. Go ahead and try at the corners and see if it's starting to release from the card itself. If it looks like it's still trying to hold on, go ahead and flip it back over and continue to brush it and get it good and saturated to make sure that glue turns loose. Now that we've reapplied, let's flip that car back over and let's try to pull it away. It should pull away fairly easily. Unfortunately, mine pulled a little bit of the paint off of the card, but we'll try to line that back up when we glue it back together. But hopefully, if you did yours right, it'll come out better than mine. Now on to the disassembly. All we're going to need for this is an electric drill with a 3/16" bit and a flathead screwdriver that will help us pry the base away from the body once we drill those rivets out. Most, if not all, Hot Wheel cars have these two rivets on the bottom that will need to be drilled away. And be careful when drilling. You don't want to drill too much away from those rivet posts or else the base might not attach back to the body as it should. When you get it far enough down, start taking your screwdriver and working it around the chassis to see if you can pop it loose. Once it does, you'll have it all apart. Most Hot Wheels break down into 4 components. Let's look at ours. We have the body, which is usually made of metal. Then you'll have the base, which the wheels and axles should be attached to. Next will be the interior, and that usually helps hold the wheels to the base. And your final piece should be your windows. They could be the front, back, sides, and depending on the car, could even stretch to the headlights and taillights. Okay, now on to removing the paint. The way I chose initially was to try this wire brush on the body. It proved to be too much of a hassle. I've seen people take the cars and dunk them in paint remover and let them sit for a while and then bring them out and wash it off. And it usually takes the paint off and then just kind of fine tune it with some sandpaper. I ultimately ditched this way and just went with the wire brush. Sorry I didn't record any of the wire brush. I just kind of got caught up in the moment and just dug into this thing and got it knocked out. But since I did use the wire bristled brush, it did leave scratches in the metal a little deeper than I like. So what I did is I took some 220 grit sandpaper and I just sanded all over the body to try to work some of those out. And when I finished with the sandpaper, I went ahead and moved to some steel wool. Now, not SOS pads, not anything like that, just plain steel wool. Quadruple 0 of super fine steel wool to go over the car again to remove the lesser scratches that the sandpaper had left behind. Just kind of want to get it as smooth as possible. Now that all the sanding's done, we're going to want to clean the bare metal with 100% pure acetone. This will get rid of any of the impurities and any of the residue left over from all the sanding. When I clean, I just use a regular cotton pad that my wife uses to clean her nails off. It seems to work pretty good. Just be sure to get all the surfaces the best you can. Try to get in the little grooves. This gets pretty dirty, guys. See, this is kind of what comes off of it. But you want to get in there really good to make sure you get all that residue off so the paint will have something to stick to. Alright guys, now we're starting our first coat of primer slash base. The paint I originally started using didn't work, ended up having to go back, sand all of it off and start over. So I ended up using a Krylon primer paint for the base coat, and it worked great. As you can see, I've got the car on an empty paper towel tube. This kind of helps get it away from my hand so I can keep the paint off of me. Remember when you're spray painting to start spraying before you hit your target and move across back and forth. That way you can avoid any runs or any spatters that the paint may have when it comes out of the can. Here I'm just doing a base coat to the interior so we can put some details on that later. Alright, with the paint good and dry, I went ahead and took some painter's tape and mocked up some stripes. I went on to paint the final coat, and like an idiot, somehow I managed to mess up my recording. So here's a still from the messed up video to prove that we did put on our final coat. After the several coats of paint have dried, I went ahead and removed the tape to reveal the white stripes underneath. I'm not going to do the whole thing right now. I don't want a spoiler alert. We'll do the reveal a little later on. This is just a tease. And here's the before and the after of the interior after I painted it. Okay guys, now on to the base. Let's remove the wheels and axles from the base. As you can see, they're secured in there with these little pins or little pieces of plastic, these little tabs that hold it in place. What we're going to need to do is remove at least one of these to loosen it up. So all you're going to do is take you some little wire snips and just kind of pick at that till you break it loose, and the wheel should pop out fairly easy once you get that done. Now this next step is totally optional, but I opted to take some paint and highlight the base of this to bring out a few of the details to make it pop a little bit, just to kind of take this modification to the next level. Now we're going to move on to the wheels and axles. The wheels and axles I selected, the axles don't quite fit where the old ones did. These are a little bit bigger, so what I'm going to need to do is take a drill and we're just going to waller out the holes just a little bit to make those axles fit. Now, it just so happened the wheels and axles I selected for this car fit without having to modify the axles at all. Some you may choose to do. You may have to find yourself, you might have to cut the axles in order to make it fit the car, and I figure we do another modification video. I'll try to pick a car that will need to do that so we can cover those steps. When making decisions for the tires for this car, I had a lot of options to choose from. I have a whole little package here of these Real Rider wheels, as you can see, and there was a lot of good options. I tried several ones. They made the car look good, especially these. They really made it look good, but it didn't really speak classic car to me. So I decided, what says classic car better than Krager wheels and Goodyear radials? I don't think there's a better combination for this car, and you'll see what I mean shortly. Alright guys, this is a moment of truth. Let's see how we did with this beauty. And that's it, guys. We got it done. We set out what we tried to do. We took an original Hot Wheel out of the packaging. We stripped it down, tore it apart, repainted it, detailed some stuff up, put some new wheels and tires on it. We put it back in its original packaging to make it look like from the factory, even though, you know, the card doesn't match the card. Still looks really good, I think. I'd like to say that's all there is to it, but it was very tedious and time consuming. I learned a lot doing it. I don't think it turned out too bad considering this is the first one we've done. I look forward to trying it again with more cars, mixing it up, trying different things with different cars, wheel swaps. This was the big one. This is as far as I've ever done. You know, we did the video where we took the off-brand car and we put Hot Wheels axles and wheels on it and sent it down the track to see if we could make it faster. That's as far as I'd ever done any kind of modifying up to that point. This one, figured we'd just do it all the way. We're gonna jump in, tear the thing apart, and try it. That way we get to hit every element to see what's required of each step in the process. And you know, I can go back and look at that and I can say, well, I could do this better, I could do this better. We can improve on it. And hopefully, you know, maybe do another one sometime in the future. If you liked what you saw and you want to see us do more of these, let us know down in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe to help us guys out, and we'll see y'all in the next one.